Hey guys, welcome to the CO Visit. Colin here, and I hope I look a little bit more like myself again. And I got my trusty soda because it's really hot today. Sorry I don't have coffee, but I think you'll forgive me for having soda when it's, 90 degrees. So, anyway, thank you very much for clicking on this video. And I also want to just take a moment to thank everybody for your words of support and motivation and everything. So this week, I think about Tuesday, somewhere around there, between Tuesday and Wednesday, my dad will have the GoFundMe set up, the page set up, and so I'll be able to share that link on all the different platforms, so that if anybody wants to donate because of medical expenses that I have had and will have. I still have to do a endoscopy coming up here in June, and I'm going to have recurring psychiatric expenses with medications and checkups and things like that a couple times a month, and it's very expensive. Okay, and so of course, as always, all of those things are completely voluntary. The links will be put up. I'll be mentioning it in videos. I'll be pasting the link and all that, and that's up to each person. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. So let's get right into it. And right away, I'll just mention at the beginning, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That won't cost you a thing. Now that I'm demonetized, fuck it, right? So anyway, so what I wanted to talk about, kind of rant about and talk about, but this is just kind of a lesson in, you know, speaking about facts. And you know what? I'm really hating today how those words are being used, especially the media. You know how the media always grabs these little phrases and then they use them for everything, and that becomes like the norm. And that has been fact checking. And I hate that. Okay? Because you know why? It doesn't mean anything. Okay, we're going to fact check Trump. We're going to fact check this guy. We're going to fact check that guy. We're going to fact check. Let's fact check what the president said. And then, okay, so what do you actually do with it? What do you do about it? Who does anything about it? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your fact checking. Because if the fact checking, if the facts that you come up with are what the other people don't want to believe, then it does nothing. They don't care. Okay? It's like you can, I'm going to fact check a JW. They don't care. They're not going to listen to you. Okay? So, but I wanted to read this story. I've actually got two stories here. I've got two really completely different stories, but interestingly, they are linked in a certain way. And with this other story, the other story that I'm going to read to you, I'm actually going to applaud and I'm in agreement with what Donald Trump is doing with Harvard University. Okay? But let me get to that first. Just hear me out. Okay? Hear me out first. You guys know that I hate Trump. Everybody knows that. However, I'm an objective person. Okay? I hate the man for what he is, for what he stands for, because he's diametrically opposed to everything that is the working class American man. Okay? He's a crook. He's a pervert. All that kind of stuff. So everybody knows that. Okay? But he's the president, and I respect that. Okay? And if he does something right, I'm going to say that he did something right. I'll be the first one to applaud, and I'm going to say that here. Okay? But if he does something wrong, which is almost all the time, I'm going to say that as well. So anyway, here's the thing, this glaring hypocrisy with this thing that's been going on right now. So it says Donnie, or I should say President Donald J. Trump, allowed South African white Afrikaner farmers to resettle in the U.S. as refugees. Okay, first of all, this information comes from pbs.org. Okay, you can go online and read it yourself. Okay, so Donald Trump allowed South African white Afrikaner farmers to resettle in the U.S. as refugees, saying they're losing their land in South Africa and are targets of genocide. When a reporter asked him about that, why he created an expedited path for Afrikaners, Trump said, because they're being killed. And we don't want to see people being killed. But it's a genocide that's taking place. And that's something you people don't want to write about. Okay, now, first of all, Trump repeats stuff that other people tell him. They tell him something, and then, okay, that's fact, because this guy told me. First of all, let's all get on the same page here about genocide. Okay, because we're so far removed from all of that kind of stuff that we think, people think nowadays anything can be a genocide. Okay, they killed a few people, that's a genocide. No. It's much more than that. Okay, Oxford Dictionary definition of genocide: an act, intentional act committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. In whole or in part. Okay? So keep that in mind, because we're talking about a few people that have been attacked or killed. Okay? Not an entire or even part of an ethnic group or a social group or whatever, any of that. So moving on. Trump added, white farmers are being brutally killed and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. Now that's very much different. That's meaning that that's the government. The government's killing them because they're confiscating their land. Not happening. Trump's decision about resettling Afrikaners was a reversal. He suspended all U.S. refugee admissions after taking office. The South African government criticized Trump's February 7 executive order on allowing Afrikaner resettlement in the U.S. They said, and I quote, "It's ironic that this executive order makes provision for refugee status in the U.S. only for a group in South Africa that remains amongst the most economically privileged, while vulnerable people in the U.S. from other parts of the world are being deported and denied asylum despite real hardship," the statement said. Okay? He worded that so well because he didn't say, oh, they're denying black. No, he said, look at people already in the U.S. who have asylum. They're getting the asylum taken away and they're getting sent back to their countries. Just like Hispanics who are legal are getting their visas taken away and they're getting sent back. Children with terminal cancer getting sent back here to Honduras. Moving on. Let me see here. So it says white farmers have been murdered in South Africa, but those murders account for less than 1% of more than 27,000 annual murders. Experts said the deaths do not amount to genocide. The idea of a white genocide taking place in South Africa is completely false, said Gareth Newham, who heads a justice and violence prevention program at the Institute for Security Studies in South Africa, which is independent of the government. And Gareth Newham, you can look it up online, look him up, he's white. Okay? So let's just get that straight. Gareth Newham is white. He heads up the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies in South Africa. As an independent institute tracking violence and violent crime in South Africa, if there was any evidence of either a genocide or targeted violence taking place against any group based on their ethnicity, we would be amongst the first to raise alarm and provide evidence to the world. Okay? But that simply is not happening. There is no genocide of white South African people. It's not happening. Okay? Those are facts. What you do with the facts now, that's up to you. Now, this other story. Before I read this story, and it's very short, and the application is very short. I want to share you guys an old 19th century poem, one that I read many, many years ago. It's very colloquial, it's very funny. I never thought I would come back to this poem again in 2025 in an actual, like, modern setting. I thought this would only be like a historical reference. But those of you who are Londoners, or if you're from Scotland or anywhere over in there, you probably know what's going on with this poem. Those of you that don't, I'll explain it to you. So I'll do this in my best accent, and I warn you, it's going to be horrible. It says, up the close, close was a street in London, up the close, and doon the stair, but and ben we Burke and Hair. Burke's the butcher, Hare's the thief, Knock's the boy that buys the beef. Where does that come from? Well, back in the mid-1800s, 1827, William Burke and William Hare, they were tenants in this apartment building, and the tenant owner happened to die. He died. And they took his body and they sold it to, is it John? Where did I write it down here? Sorry, guys, I got lost in my, John Knox, I believe. To John Knox. Robert Knox, excuse me, Robert Knox. Okay, I can't read my own writing, sorry, guys. Okay, so they sold the corpse to Robert Knox, who is a medical surgeon at a medical school, and they needed corpses for anatomy classes, and there was a shortage of corpses. And Robert Knox paid Burke and Hare 7 quid or 7 pounds, 7 quid, 10 shillings back in 1827. Back in 1827, in 2025, because of inflation, that's 13,505 pounds. That's the equivalent of 18,291 US dollars. 13,505 pounds back in 1827. That's a shitload of money. And as I said, that's 18,291 US dollars in today's. And before they got caught, William Burke and William Hare sold 16 other bodies to Robert Knox for his medical classes. All in all, they walked off with 229,585 pounds. That's over 250,000, $250,000. Amazing, isn't it? And so you might be asking me, Colin, what the heck is this all about? What does this have to do with anything? Get to the point, right? Well, this was just in the news. Maybe you saw it. The other picture that was on the thumbnail, there was a African-American gentleman and then Donald Trump. That gentleman is Dr. Cedric Lodge, 57 years old. He was the director of the morgue and medical faculty of Harvard University. Harvard fucking University just pled guilty in Pennsylvania to stealing organs and selling them on the black market over several states in the United States. Now, if Burke and Hare were making over $18,000 over 200 years ago, what was this guy making off with? As if he didn't make enough money anyway, being the head of the medical faculty at Harvard. People, what the actual fuck is going on with our country? What is going on with people? This isn't some, this isn't the Last Dance with Mary Jane music video, by Tom Petty. This isn't some perverted necrophiliac morgue guy stealing a body. This is a renowned doctor, the head of the medical faculty of the most prestigious university in the world. or one of the most in the world and respected. And this is going on there. They're stealing organs and selling them interstate. So you know what? Donald Trump freezing up money to Harvard and all that. Bravo. Bravo, my friend. And do more. Go after them. Go after them. Doge, whatever, if it works, if they're really doing what they're saying, go after those motherfuckers. Because if that's happening at fucking Harvard, what's going on in other places that we don't know about? I mean, my God. My God. So I recognize that good thing. But what I do criticize him for, okay, is the blatant racism and hypocrisy. Okay, if you're going to give and you're going to reverse your own executive order and give refugee because they're white people, okay, stop harassing Latinos. Okay? Make a comprehensive, yes, we all agree that we need to have safe borders. We all agree that we need to have controls, but make it possible for people to migrate and give a chance to people that need refugee status. And do not send children who are U.S. citizens back to their countries when they're going to die. That kid that they sent back here, that's a death sentence. That little kid that had terminal cancer, that's a death sentence. So anyway, I hope this information resonated with some of you, okay? So thank you for watching this video. Thanks for being here if you're still here till the end, okay? And remember, the information about donations will be coming up very soon, okay? Thanks for watching the CO Visit. Be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.